This morning, we have a new face here. Emily Norton, who's a Deputy County Attorney for Leon County, is going to be working with us today. Chastity Osteen is out of the country, I think you said. So we're going to have a bit of I want to give you a little bit of a refresher of what we're going to do. As usual, we have the consent calendar and then public comment, and then we'll continue on to general business. So if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to have comments, be sure to fill out the cards. I think they're on both sides of the room for that. So just importantly, today the County Commission brought us back together for one item, just one item. So I won't be acknowledging anything else that's brought up except on discussion of this one topic. Before we get started, is Vince going to be arriving to make us
Sorry, I'm late, but
Do you want to
Yeah.
get started?
Vince?
Oh, he's out in the lobby? Okay. All right. Well, we'll meet him. He's going to give us a recap on basically how we got here again today and some of the policy decisions and options we have. Okay. Waiting in the wings is County Administrator Vince Long. Good morning. Vince, when you're ready, if you could give us kind of a recap of where we are, what's happened since we last met, and what the
Great.
board has directed us to do.
Will do. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good to see you. You thought you were through, huh? No such luck. Well, let us get back up to speed. I think probably everyone's been paying close attention anyway, but you'll recall that at your last meeting, the committee considered the proposed charter amendment focused on programs and funding targeting communities affected by historic racial discrimination. You'll recall at that time that staff presented information on recent state and federal actions limiting DEI-related activities. And we know, again, a lot of this is repetitive for you at this point. With those considerations in mind, and after extensive discussion, the committee did not advance a proposed amendment to the board as a recommendation, although very close vote. I think it was like a 9-9 vote, obviously just to get everybody back up to speed. Following that action, the board asked staff to bring back additional analysis on the proposal. That was presented to the board in April, and that analysis also detailed some additional state and federal developments, including the passage of Senate Bill 1134 and some recent federal executive orders targeting DEI efforts. In light of these implications, the board, during their discussions, directed staff to develop a framework to address historic harmful public policy decisions in a way that is based on geographical areas and is consistent with state and federal laws and did not jeopardize state and federal funding. So we presented an agenda item to the board that it's in your materials. All the substantive information that we presented to the board is in your materials. And again, what it says is that what it includes is the county's comprehensive and ongoing efforts to do just that, to address vulnerable populations through numerous policies and programs and partnerships and initiatives and investments, and all of which you'll see in your item on a geographic basis and in a way that doesn't jeopardize state or federal funding and is consistent with the law. So again, it was pretty exhaustive. You have all that information. And again, these efforts, of course, just to reiterate, are being implemented today under the board's existing authority with no need for any additional authority, if you will, articulated through a county charter. That said, the board considered options at that time, whether the board wished to advance a charter amendment, which somehow further clarified or articulated what we do on a geographical basis, and again, consistent with the law and that sort of thing. The board chose not to do that, not to advance a board-initiated charter amendment at the time that considered that, but they did want to, I think in just in abundance of deference to this committee, have this issue brought back to you so that you can consider what the board considered in terms of the efforts, and as well to consider if there is anything else that the committee wished to advance, again, consistent with this framework that we've spelled out here today. Again, addressing harmful public policy decisions in a way that is geographic, not race-based or anything of that nature. And again, we've certainly laid all that out in the information that's before you today. So that's kind of a background that gets everybody up to speed. Again, all the information is presented in the item. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, thank you. So that's what we're considering today. As I said, it's the one and only issue that we're going to take up today. So I don't anticipate us being here the whole 3 hours, but we have 3 hours. So we have a lot of time, a lot of room for discussion. First, staff is going to introduce the item, then we're going to have a vote. We're going to, hang on. First, we're going to be doing, I need a motion on consent item, which is approval of the February 19 meeting minutes, and also receipt and file of public comments at that time.
So moved.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Motion's been made and second to accept the consent item, agenda. And now we're going to have public comment too. So I do have one card up here. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to call a vote on accepting the consent item. All in favor of acceptance of the consent agenda from February 19th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. All right.
Madam Chair, one question. Do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum. Yes, we do.
4-2.
11
11.
11 members would make a quorum. We have 16 in attendance, so that would be 9 votes.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, first up, we have public comment. And I think anyone who's not gotten a card to sign in, please do. These are in order of receipt. We have Stanley Sims. Pardon me? You're up there. All right, hey, can't see out of the back of my head.
My name is Stanley Sims. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. I was privileged to observe the conversation at the county commission meeting. I don't know if it's because I don't have a life or I just get into things like this, and from what I heard from them, they were not saying no. They just wanted to make sure that they wasn't putting themselves at risk. And I even have an issue of concern by labeling this harmful public policy. I don't see anything harmful about acknowledging that things have happened in our community that has caused us not to be fulsome or wholesome or more together than we should. And so I'm challenging you, asking you humbly as possible, is to not make this about something that it's not. What this is about acknowledging that there were some actions made that have caused us to not be that all-American city or county that we want to be. This is not about making anyone else greater or lesser than anyone else. This is not about placing a value on an area or a program or a person. This is a public policy that we will love thy neighbor, Lord help me today, as thyself. That's what all this is about. It's not about color, not about class. That we will love thy neighbor as.
Mr. Sims, you have 30 seconds.
Is that Baptist or primitive?
Okay. 30 seconds either way. Thank you. All righty. That's all right. It's me. It's my job over here. Next up, we have Serenity Williams, please. Give your name and address for the record, please. And you have 3 minutes.
All right. Y'all don't care about short people up here. All right. Hi, my name is Serenity Williams. I am a proud resident of the Lake Jackson area in District 3 in our county. And this committee is back today to review what responsibilities belong in the charter. Long-term assessment, transparency, and accountability are exactly the kinds of structural governance functions charters are designed to support. Historic infrastructure placement, transportation decisions, and developmental patterns affected access to economic opportunity in different parts of Leon County. Evaluating those long-term impacts is a reasonable governance function. This framework does not mandate spending, create quotas, establish preferential treatment, or override state or federal law. It creates authority for assessment and public review, which is exactly where in the charter it's supposed to be. Advancing this framework simply allows draft charter language to move forward for public and commission consideration. No programs or appropriations are created by this vote. If harm was created, structurally, the authority to address it belongs in the charter. I urge you all to please push forward this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Darshell Pickett. Your name and address for the record, please.
Greetings, I am Darshell Pickett. I am a resident in District 2 of Leon County. Thank you for having us here and taking a moment to carve out time for your day to address this very important amendment. Public policy decisions have long-term effects. When those effects persist across generations, governance should respond in a long-term way. Dual projects displace communities such as Smoky Hollow without equivalent long-term reinvestment. The results of that disruption have economic and social effects that remain visible and present day community conditions. Any future ordinance or implementation process of this framework would still be required to comply with all applicable state and federal law. This geographically based data informed framework is focused on community conditions and policy impacts, not identity-based preferences. This amendment creates authority, not mandates. It strengthens long-term governance without creating legal or fiscal risk, and I urge you to advance it. As a resident in District 2, I ask the committee to approve the proposed charter amendment for recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you for your dedication to the people of Leon County. Thank you. Oh, I apologize. I am a resident of Leon County, District 2. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Brian Stringer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, let's speak to each other. We still neighbors, right? What we're discussing here today is not about politics. It's about ideology. I want to be clear. I'm not here to create division. I'm here to cast a vision. And what we're discussing today is whether Leon County is willing to create a permanent structure of accountability that survives these election cycles we go through, changing administrations and shifting political parties. Right now, we already know that our neighborhoods are in our community are experiencing some concentrated poverty, some infrastructure gaps, and some environmental burdens, housing instability, and limited access to opportunity. The county's reports have acknowledged this reality, and there's been some money already been, allocated for the South Side and Frenchtown and 32304, but that just illuminates the fact that these areas are experiencing major disparities. But the real question to this is, what happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe 20 years from now, when my kids go to college? What's happening then? Will these issues continue to be tracked, measured, or publicly reviewed, or even addressed? Or will accountability simply depend on who happens to be sitting in office at that time? This is why this amendment matters. This proposal does not create quotas. It does not mandate spending. It does not establish race-based preferences or DEI programs. What it does is create a reoccurring process for community impact assessment and public reporting. And honestly, that's what good government is supposed to do. The charter already includes systems for audits and ethic oversights and accountability because, quite frankly, transparency creates trust in the community. Because if policies help create disparities over generations, then their responsible governance requires us to evaluate whether those impacts still exist and whether current investments are truly changing outcomes. This is bigger than one issue, bigger than my neighborhood, bigger than this administration. This is about whether Leon County is willing to institutionalize transparency, continuity, and accountability for future generations. And quite frankly, I believe our community deserves nothing less. I didn't tell you before, my name is Brian Stringer. Although I am the executive director of Capital Area Justice Ministry, I'm standing here on behalf of myself and my community. There are people in my community that don't have the access or resources to come sit at a table.
And I've been remiss in telling you, your time is up. I'm sorry, but I appreciate your comments very much. Thank you. I wasn't watching the clock, so how could you? All right. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak at this time? And I know you all received from Nikki yesterday some comments also that you've got in your computer somewhere. All right. I'm going to hand this over to staff to sort of introduce the item officially. I'm not sure who's doing that. Is that going? Okay, Nikki. And after that, we'll have a discussion. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Nice to see you all again. Very briefly, building on the background that Vince provided earlier, the board requested you guys to reconvene specifically to consider whether to advance a charter amendment setting forth a framework to address historic policy decisions enacted by the board that specifically focuses on geographic areas without reference to race or any other protected class and complies with state and federal law. The materials in front of you document the county's ongoing work that already fits this framework through countless policies, programs, and targeted investments which focus on the highest needs in historically underserved areas in our community. These efforts are data-driven, strategically implemented, and consistent with best practices. And as noted by Vince, they have been implemented under the board's existing authority without any charter amendment. But today, the board wanted you all to consider whether a framework should be advanced as a charter amendment. So to help your consideration today, the item outlines a number of options, one being a proposed revision to the charter preamble. Another is any alternative direction that the committee may want to provide today. The committee may also choose not to advance any charter change today. That decision is entirely within your discretion. So with that, we're available to answer any questions or provide any more context to help your discussion and decision today.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Okay, well, we're going to open up the floor for discussion. I know we have one person who has asked to be recognized, but Dr. Strobel? Okay, I know he has a presentation. Others can also on this. It's going to be a discussion among all of us. So you were the only person that I have heard from at any rate who has a specific presentation. So if you could, hold it to, as briefly as you can, and then we will have a conversation. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I first want to just say I appreciate everyone for having the willingness to reconvene this committee. I know everyone has busy schedules, and to be back here talking about this just shows the significance of this moment. So I did put together a brief presentation just to kind of talk through a proposal for it will be an option 3 committee direction on a way we could go forward with what the commission has kind of given us a directive to do. So since February, I've been working and trying to come up with language that adheres to some of the advisement we got from staff and particularly the county attorney. So revisions you'll see in the latest proposal submitted, and if somebody, there's some documents that have the language on it, if you could pass those out, I'd really appreciate that. You're going to see the language and eligibility structure has been changed. It's been refined to remove any potential protected class eligibility to ensure that this is fully permissible under the law. You'll also see there's no funding structures built within the charter amendment that's being proposed now. It's simply more so a strategic approach that has a geographic focus where the framework is going to be built to address localized community needs. And then, of course, we're focusing on making sure that it's legally compliant. So really, this is no longer about simply historic harms. We're looking at impact assessment and accountability. And that's the approach that we're moving forward with. The idea here is that there were policies put forth, there were practices put forth in this community that were later determined to be unconstitutional or unlawful. They have lingering impacts. And we want to build into our charter a recurring mechanism that will allow for the county to investigate, have a public review, and then decide how it wants to move forward. So why this is needed, we want to be able to acknowledge the disparities exist in the legal framework. We want to make sure that we are mitigating the lack of accountability that is already kind of built into the charter. And by that, what I mean is there is simply just no mechanism in the charter which says, hey, decision was made 20, 40, 60 years ago. It has caused this outcome, and there's no requirement to go back, investigate, and do it. We're relying on the goodwill of our current commission and our current staff, but that may or may not always be the case. And that's why we're saying the charter is an appropriate place to lock that mechanism in. So the amendment just creates continuity, transparency, and recurring public review. So recurring assessments, commission review, informed decisions, and public reporting. Those are the key elements. What you will not find in this, there is no reparations. I want to make that clear. There's no DEI programming here. There's no race-based eligibility, and there are no funding mandates. So no preferential treatment of any group, and this keeps us fully legally compliant. And lastly, I want to say why this belongs in the charter, then I'm going to stop there. All right. So the charter, if you look at the preamble of the existing charter, it speaks to the need of having a home rule charter so that we can have a more efficient operations within our local government. Well, with that foundational basis, to have more efficient operations, efficiency requires you to know where mistakes have been made, where public policy has veered off course in the past, and to identify what could be done to correct that. So this process that we will be building, this framework, if we were to advance it, it would establish oversight, or it would establish a framework for investigation and evaluation of what has already been done. And it cements that long-term continuity across political and administrative changes. So again, we're no longer relying on the goodwill of our current commission, which is great, and our current staff who are great. We're putting this in our charter so that it is I wouldn't use the word perpetual, but it is an ongoing framework. So I'm going to stop there. We could have more discussion about it.
Thank you, Dr. Struble. So now I'd like to open this up for conversation among all members of our committee. And just to be clear, this proposal is for an amendment to the charter, not just a addition to the preamble language. So there's two different options there. So do I hear any comment? Oh, okay. Need a motion for discussion? All right. Do I hear
Make a
someone?
motion for discussion.
Okay, second. Motion's been made and seconded to open it to discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and those opposed, nay. Thank you. Mr. Murray?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tribble, for the presentation. So for what you're proposing here, who oversees this whole process if it was implemented into the county charter? Like, is there a board that's formed, or is it oversaw by the county commissioners themselves? Is there financial implications of starting a, committee or a sector of the county government to oversee these kind of actions? So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. And, if it was passed, what happens then?
Yes, so in this situation, because in our purview, we can't really get into the policy side of it. I've left that open for staff and the commission to kind of decide how the framework is implemented. But it does require that every 4 years that there would be some type of formal investigation that is then the results of that are turned over to the commission, and then they will review it, put out public. Kind of have a public process in which they review it, and then from there they will decide how they respond to it. And then the data from that impact assessment would be recommended to be used or utilized in county decision making. But there is no automatic financial implications. It would be the commission's discretion. So that was based off the advisement we got from the county attorney and from staff in previous discussions. That seemed like the best way forward.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Sir.
If I'm not mistaken, that was not the intent from staff, I believe, not to get a motion for discussion, but it was to ask for a motion on what option that we wanted, and then we have the discussion after that. It wasn't to have a motion for discussion. You always do that, but
All
we
right.
wanted a motion on which option someone wanted.
I'm glad you're here with me. So do we need to do this again?
Yes.
Yes, we do. All right, motion, we don't,
There's no option
there's
3.
option 1 or option 2.
Correction?
Option 2 is to advance an amendment addressing. Option 1 is to take no further action.
Okay,
Those are the two.
Option 2?
Option 2, right, so making a motion for option 2. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for option 2. Sorry, guys. Right.
In discussion.
Now we have discussion.
Yeah.
Just so I understand, where is the language for option 2 is the language on page 12? Is that right?
So option 2 is for the committee's discretion to determine if you do propose a charter amendment, what that language is. So the item does provide some proposed preamble language. However, if you want to have alternative language, such as the language provided by Member Strobel, that can be captured under option 2, but it'll be up to the committee to specify.
Ms. Hatch, but would that not mean that we would have to amend item 2 to accept the recommended language?
In this discussion, you can specify the language that you're capturing in this motion for option 2, and then you would vote on it after discussion.
So option 2 really just opens us up for discussion on however we would want to proceed with any amendment, if that's the way we go. Okay. All right, so I have 3 people in line to speak at this point. Joey Davis, I think you're up first.
So, and I may have been reading ahead just a little bit, but in some of your information here, you're talking about specific areas of Leon County, yet in the sample ballot language, it doesn't specify areas of Leon County. It would just be for Leon County. Can you speak to that and clarify that?
Yeah, again, to not be over prescriptive, we have left some generalness in that. So the idea is that we know that the issues exist in areas of Leon County, but we are not aware of all the issues that exist. So I didn't want to be over prescriptive to say it has to focus on these areas. So in that proposed ballot language, if that's what we go with, it leaves it open where we can focus on wherever issues may arise that are resulting from past policy.
So more of an evergreen kind of language there. That,
Yes, sir.
okay. So one other issue there. So it seems that the sample language here is aimed at a reporting process and then allowing the commissioners to deal with that. The county's given a lot of information about what the county is doing in these areas and in these spaces to rectify situations. Is there a specific reporting process already within the county? How is that dealt with currently within the county as far as reporting issues that you're seeing, and how is it put before the commissioners to deal with it?
Crack at that. Yeah. Welcome to your introduction of being a county commissioner. So each one of it would depend on the program. And so as we showed you there in what we've presented to you, it's exhaustive, the number of programs and policies and initiative and project that we have. Each one of them have separate reporting requirements. I could tell you that I don't think that there's not a comprehensive survey or an evaluation tool that goes out to somehow measure historic harms, and then to the extent to which those are being addressed globally. Each one of them are specific, and they have different reporting requirements that come back to the board, again, that are very comprehensive and take place year-round.
So what I'm trying to get at is, how is what we're looking to put in here with charter language, especially dealing with the reporting aspect of it, how is that different? How would that change what the county does? Is that something that's doable? How would it change, and what would be the cost of that, of putting that together?
We don't know. We would defer to the author here today and try to understand that better. Again, we need to emphasize this is not done in any other county. So again, there's really no example that we can use for this. We would have to, if this was something that the committee wanted to advance, the charter amendment that sort of looks like what Dr. Strobel has identified here, then we would take the component parts of that. We would bring it back an agenda item to the board after you conduct your public hearings, and we would try to do an analysis on what does it really mean? What does it really entail? We know, generally speaking, what it entails. This survey that's done or the assessment that's done every 4 years, that sort of thing, and when policy options would be brought back to the board and how they would consider that. So, but I couldn't tell you, the cost of that and specifically at this time.
Right, thank you. Barry Wilcox, I think you're up next.
Bruce, could you walk us through a real world scenario with this, assuming that we propose a charter amendment, your charter amendment to the board, that the board puts it on the ballot, it gets approved. Say we form a task force or a committee of some sort to investigate a specific geographic area. There are findings there. I mean, what does this look like? And can you use a real world example of how this might play out? Because there's a lot of very generalized language we're discussing right now. I'd love to know how, in your mind, this plays out specifically.
Absolutely. I think we could just use an example of, we look at perhaps a urban renewal project or something that happened early on in the county's development where people were displaced, right? And there is still a lingering role indicators. When the county would authorize this investigation through the purview of the staff and the commission, how they determine it would go forward, whether that be they convene a committee to look at it, or if they have staff do a special report, they will publicize that information and say, this is what we found. These are the indicators that we were looking at, and here are some suggested actions, and some that were already taken, some that are being proposed as new actions that we could take. The commission would then have a public review of that information, and then they would say how they were going to move forward. And they could do that through resolution, ordinance, however they saw fit. So the idea, and the reason I'm staying very general, is because we've been advised that we don't want to get into the policy aspect of it. So the idea here is that the commission staff and whoever they appoint are convened to carry this forward, are going to refine that process, and I will hope and trust that they would do it with public input in the process. So I'm intentionally being a general so that we leave it to the staff to kind of build we create the framework and then they build the process within it. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. As a courtesy, County Commissioner Proctor is here and wanted to make a comment on this point, which might get right back to him.
Good morning, members. Thank you, Madam Chair. All due respect to protocol, I wanted just to respond to the question, is there an example? And this effort responds to Senate Bill 1134. You know what that is. Institutional necessity, the date of which the counties put money to address poverty and so forth. But the question is there an example that we would have in place to address geographic patterns that have gone unaddressed that may be assessed to impact that region? And this morning in a not public, but a private meeting of citizenry, the issue of annexing North Meridian came up. And the issue of Centerville Road. And in the Centerville Road discussion, noting the failure of annexation to occur in the Pimbleton Road community just before you go to cross Interstate 10 on Centerville, and how the city limits, if you will, the city's inclusion of citizens has bypassed communities there on Pimbleton and enclaves of African American citizens. You go across the neighborhood on the left, and all that is in the city. You cross Interstate 10, and Mount Hebron Church came up. There is Buckhead, a community I know something about. It's in the city, and the church on the left is an African American Baptist church. It is not in the city. It strangely, the city limits bypasses this African American church, and you get to Killarn's entrance right there on the corner. I'm trying to think of the name of it. What's that thing name? Garden View. Thank you. Garden View. Exactly right. You get to Garden View, and the city limits resumes. So, based upon the geographic specific policies, which in this region differ significantly, it would warrant, to me, some review. Secondly, annexation, an examination which is growing all week. I've been in conversations, and you too probably. And issue of annexation, it's not a bad one. But if you got pipes that go past Ox Bottom, heading north, Summerbrook, all the way up to Bannerman, and the pipes are right there in the middle of the road. Gas is down there, sewer is down there, electric is down there, water is down there, everything. And the question of whether or not on the left side of the road, the west side of the same street, can you tap in and call that city and annex it in that city limit? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that all the pipes are right there. It's just a matter of tapping in. That's another concern. But regionally, the distinction of annexations by the city that stops at Wilson Green, that citizens who live south of Wilson Green, but inside of Capitol Circle, within the urban service area, these people buy city utilities, but they're not annexed into the city, so they will not be voting in the election of August and November. They pay the same as everybody else rate, but they can't vote. And this ask, is there a geographic specific occurrence of policy differentials? and you would be with intelligence in this room now, you would be hard pressed, at least not to be puzzled by why Tillman Funeral Home is not on Central Sewer. And with respect to sewer and piping from 15, 16 miles north of here, but the people who live across the street from the sewer treatment plant, theirs is placed in their backyards because the city does not encompass and include pipes to serve homes with a density as close as you are in home related of standards, are as close as the chairs around this table. The density is there, but the pipes are not. Why do people who live across the street from the sewer treatment have no access, but the people who live heading toward Georgia's line, they do? So to the question that was asked, and thank you, Madam Chair, for a few moments just to say, I would think geographically, from which this language has been postured, that those are concerns viable and need a review and perhaps an answer or response or action which Dr. Strobel has not specified. But maybe the future will offer its own set of responses. So I just want to offer those two things that I see and have noted over the years as geographic distinctions, and to make sure that you're very clear. I want to make sure that you know that across the street from Southwood, which is inside the city limit, inside of Capitol Circle, the African American community is right there by that little graveyard coming up the hill. That is not the city of Tallahassee. They can't vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now, clearly, geographical distinctions, it's not as simple as it sounds. And it's an issue that's been going on for a lot of years on the county commission. Thank you very much. You bet. Coming up next, we have Chauncey Haynes and Dr. Lewis, then Linda Bond Edwards, and then Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, I'm sorry. To our county administrator, you're right, some of us have been following this issue, Mr. County Administrator, and I also followed the vote of the commission as well on this issue. There's a reason why this has come back before this committee today. It's not an easy topic to discuss or to deal with. Probably one of the reasons why our vote was 9-9 when we took it originally. I believe we had a slide that said why this should be in the county charter. I want to give some reasons why I think it does not belong in the county charter. I will be voting against option 2, and I would prefer option 1, but I'd like to give some of those reasons why. In the material that we have before us, and that was given before, staff gives us countless items that are led by the county and where millions of investment to address historic, harmful public policy decisions, all of which are data-driven and strategically implemented and community-focused. A charter isn't to get the government to do what we want them to do. It serves to define governmental authority and their powers. If this group, we will recall, we previously rejected other amendments mandating health care and food insecurity functions in the charter. The same, in my opinion, the same principle applies here. Once we get one specific issue into the charter, it can create pressure to classify other priorities in the same way, which in my opinion would be drifting from a governance framework into a list of initiatives. So examples from, in my opinion, duplication of efforts, for example, the Southside Action Plan various sense of place plans, small business development support, and et cetera. I'd like to ask what more specifically should be done to be achieved via this charter amendment? That's, I mean, question staff, whatever. Madam Chair, what's more specifically should be done? I mean, we have in our material the things that the county is currently doing. What else more specifically could be done? And those are my comments. Again, I will be voting against option 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Lewis, you're next.
It's ironic that on this very day in 1956, 2 students from Florida A&M University refused to give up a seat on a bus here in Tallahassee. On this very day, next month, 40 years ago, the NAACP sued the county for single-member districts because people around the same table before us would not approve single-member districts. We won that lawsuit, and over $280,000 worth of legal fees were paid to keep me off the county commission. We sit around this table today talking about the same thing. The same thing. Have we not moved? We have moved. We got 3 black people on the county commission now. That's progress. But that's not enough progress. My family owns 655 acres, albeit in Jefferson County. 200 of those acres were taken from my family because we didn't have a voice at a table like this. I'm a pharmacist. I'm going to move into what I really want to talk about now. We dispense prescriptions. I don't think it's the role of this Charter Review Commission to be as prescriptive as we're trying to be. We're supposed to make policy and recommend that policy to the county commission to approve that policy and then implement that policy. We can't develop a department or process around this table to implement the policy that the county commission does. They will appoint an advisory committee or some other kind of committee, and they will come back with the recommendations to do that with a budget as well. So for us to try to do that around this table is premature, I think, at best, and not the role of the Charter Review Commission. Our role is to recommend a charter change. That's our role. It's their role as the county commission to implement that if the people of Tallahassee, or Leon County, that is, say yes. That's our role, folks. I want to commend these young people who've come forth with a very viable, a very needed, and a very prescriptive policy recommendation to us. I didn't have that opportunity when I was their age. I said to somebody this morning, I'm 77 years old. I make no bones about it. And because of that, I've seen a lot of changes in Tallahassee. But we started people like me, and this is not about race, but it is about race. Because this government that I served, and you elected over the past 200 years, did not treat everybody the same. They didn't. And you got to admit that first and be sensitive to that. And then see, how do we make the rectification for that? We've seen some numerous things that the county's doing, and I applaud them for doing that. but that does not come close. Close, not even minuscule close to the impacts that have set us back to where we are. I live in Bond Subdivision, Saxon Street. Every lot in there was cut up to be 50 feet wide and 100 feet deep. You could only build a shotgun house. Do y'all know what a shotgun house is? Thank you, sir. Now, the people of Bond Subdivision did not develop that policy. The government did and allowed the developers to do that. That was a policy decision. And what happened through the prescriptive part of it, you ended up with 50-foot lots so those developers could make more money. So today, I'm asking this commission, this charter committee, that is, to be open-minded, to be prescriptive with policy, and see if we can help continue the direction that Leon County government is going and make Tallahassee and Leon County a much better place for everybody. I got some specific things when the time comes to come back to, but I just want to say that now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Stanley. Dr. Robertson, you're up next. And then Daryl Jones and Howard Kessler.
I have.
Yeah, hey.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have some questions about the language. So a community impact assessment. So there are other assessments that happen in the community, like a community health assessment, and typically an assessment has like outcomes that you are looking to assess to then go on to make some type of implementation plan to address with a budget, with a group of people. So this language is very specific about a community impact assessment. What outcome like measures are you looking to address with that assessment? I'm just trying to figure out that part.
Excellent question. While I'm capable of defining all that, the challenge being that this is it's a democratic process, right? So when I think community impact assessment, I'm focusing on long-standing historic challenges, that issues that have challenged communities or adverse circumstances that have been in place in communities for a prolonged period of time. And we want to get to the root causes and through that assessment. However, I think that the reason it is in that general language is so that it can be sent to the commission and the voters. They will decide, and then the commission and staff would then be a little more intricate and specific on what outcomes they're looking for. I didn't feel comfortable coming to you all with they should look for outcome A, B, C, D, and E. I didn't feel that was the place of this committee. So I wanted to leave it general, but just to answer your question, in my vision, it's looking at long-term, long-standing disparities and disparate impacts on particular communities across Leon County.
But like, so there's, in this community, they already conduct a community health assessment to look at long-term issues on health, heart disease, followed by cancer, followed by stroke, followed by diabetes. And every 5 years, there's required an assessment to then go on to establish a plan, a community health improvement plan to address by different subcommittees. So when we put in a charter to do a community impact assessment on policies that impact what is what I'm trying to see. So like when you say a community impact assessment and you wrote this, what evidence-based framework for this type? So like a community health assessment would encompass a MAP evidence-based framework. So when you propose this community impact assessment, like what framework are you speaking of? Like, can you give an example of things that have been looked at in a community impact assessment that you're talking about on like these types of historical policies?
I'm not sure I follow your question. I guess because if you're asking me for my own, like my research perspective, how I would conduct the research, I could give you that, but I don't think that's a.
Could I interrupt maybe to help you out? There would be many, many more steps if we approve this charter amendment. It will go through 3 public hearings that we will all be expected to attend. Then it will go, if the county commission accepts it too. So then I would assume that there will be many opportunities for the public, for any one of us to be there to speak to specifics on this. But we're really pretty broad base on that, as Dr. Struble has been painstakingly trying to make it as broad as possible at this point. So a lot of these questions, I'm not sure you could have an opinion, as we could all, but
I don't know how we vote on a community impact assessment if we don't know what like outcomes you're trying to address. Like there's already a community health assessment, for example, plan. So we are voting on a generic community assessment on all things.
That's up to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Again, and it wouldn't be at that point the staff, county, and whatever partners they bring in would define it further. I just didn't feel it was appropriate to define it further on this end because we are only sending it forward to say this is the framework that we're building, to say that the county is going to do recurring assessments, look at for impacts across the community. And then that will be publicly reviewed, and then the findings will be applied as appropriate. So to kind of go off what what Member Lindley, Chair Lindley has said, it is not appropriate for me to say we should have this specific research model. I just wanted to say that we have a framework that will allow us to assess. And understanding there are community health assessments, but this is to putting it in the charter. It gives that authority it puts that authority to continue and have it recurring in the charter so that no future group would simply be able to ignore it or avoid it.
Are there current assessments now that the county conduct on a regular basis for programs or anything?
Yeah.
Yes, we regularly perform evaluations, programmatic evaluations, and provide feedback for the board on any number of programs. Again, you've got what's before you in your item is just it's literally dozens of programs and policies, and all of which have different reporting requirements. All of them have different revenue restrictions on what money can be used for, and how all of them are measured differently in terms of how we report and evaluate progress on these things. So they're all very specific. They're all very data-driven. They're all very targeted. Again, so yes, we do on virtually all of these. I think the issue is one of a broader assessment. It's something that we don't do today.
Thank you. I mean, I just asked because like I've done many assessments at a local level, at the state level, but typically when you conduct like an assessment on a community, like you have a generic what you're trying to assess, and then you look at different data sources to get at that. So when we say a generic community impact assessment, I was just trying to get a better understanding of what you wanted to address. No further questions.
Right. Thank you. Daryl Jones, and then Dr. Kessler and Dr. Robinson. You're back up. Respectfully, Ms. Vaughn Edwards was in line and I ignored her.
And she put her placard down and she put it back up, but I'll defer.
Oh.
But I'll defer.
Okay.
But I'll defer.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. In the original vote, I voted against putting forth the amendment. But today I'll change it. And the reason why is because I've had some time since then to reflect on my own lived experiences as it relates to public policy issues in the past. I didn't grow up in Tallahassee or didn't grow up in Florida, but I grew up in a small rural West Tennessee county near Memphis. And when I reflected on the things that happened to me growing up and looking at that community now, it became much clearer to me. The things that Dr. Lewis mentioned this morning were very real. the things that Commissioner Proctor mentioned were very real to me. And it lets me know that there are ongoing harms when it comes to wealth building in certain communities, when it comes to home values as a specific thing that could come out of an assessment on an ongoing basis. I'm not certain. I can't point to specific policies perhaps, but I do know that there are some anecdotal things that have happened. That area along Centerville Road, what are the home values on either side of that road? And how did a policy, a zoning policy, how did that affect home values? What does that do to our community? And so when I think about those things, and in some instances, I don't believe that the actions that were taken necessarily were intentional. I just think that they may not have even been thought about. Oh, here's an area where we can put a water treatment plant. Let's put it there. It just so happened that the people living around there were of a particular race, but that was a good location for it. And perhaps the consideration was not even given when those lots were designed on Saxon Street. I don't know what the consideration was other than maybe economic for the developers. So I think that sometimes when we try to label things as happening in a discriminatory fashion, perhaps the impact was there. And perhaps that impact continues even to this day. And so because of that, again, just taking a much broader view of what this amendment could do is the reason, and it's what has led me to change my vote, because it is, as Dr. Strobel has mentioned, larger than a single issue, but a much larger comprehensive one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, thanks very much for your tolerance.
No problem. Glad to defer.
Well done.
Like you, I also did not vote for it the last time. However, and this is where we as individuals, and particularly for me as an elected, it forces me to take stock of what I know are my values and the things that matter to me. And subsequently, it informs such that I would hope that I provide consistency in my perspective, because although circumstances may change, my values certainly do not change. And so, although I am aware that right now, presently, for example, it's just a given that every year or semi-annually, we're going to take stock of the Alice report. And unlike it, and I can tell you as an individual, as an elected, my jurisdiction stretches all the way from Fort Braden, all the way to James S. Rickards High School. And that means the diversity of Title I families that I serve looks like our community. That is beyond race, color, or class. It is about circumstances, right? And so here now, I know that this is intended to provide a cure. But at the same time, because I'm really sensitive to this, because at present I have amendments that will be coming to the electorate. A half-cent sales tax, and here as of Tuesday, we'll be recommending to the Leon County Commission a millage rate increase that we're able to provide for teacher and staff salaries. So because I believe in what we're attempting to do here, to provide a cure, to address what we know beyond what we now do in terms of our activity and actions. There's not a year that passes by where we do not take into consideration our ALICE population. There's not a time we do not take into consideration through the committees that already exist throughout our government. There's an intentionality of the citizen advisory committees that presently exist to address what we know are those things we want to cure. So now my advice to my colleagues, and particularly to our author, is here now, knowing that providing a cure has been a standard and staple of our way of work presently. Now you have to worry about getting it passed, right? And one of the things that I've become sensitive to as a school board member who now has 2 ballot referendums, words matter. Okay. So, as you know, and I don't think you can get more loquacious than Daryl Jones. I got a word and an opinion on everything. But I also know that the modesty of words is oftentimes most effective. So, as we talk about what this looks like moving forward, potentially, I'm certain that I can speak for everyone around this table, because if those persons are moved to vote for it, nobody wants to vote for anything that will not pass. I don't believe in Pyrrhic victories, and I don't believe in doing things just for the sake of doing it. I would hope that we would be most concerned about its passage if it is our intention to provide cure for all families in our community, right? Regardless of geography or race, but that we would continue to show as what is a continuing community value, and that is to provide a cure. And so I want you to think about that as we have our deliberations going forth. And I would just say, like the kids say, KISS, keep it simple, right? And subsequently, I think that we can move beyond all of our stories. And thank you, Dr. Lewis, for providing us a teaching moment without the formality of a classroom or a whiteboard, but a teaching moment nonetheless. And so if, based upon what we've said here and what I've heard in the questions and comments, if it's our intent to always be a community that provides a cure, then we got to make certain that it leaves this room, leaves that dais, and then hits the ballot. And there, the voters can decide whether or not providing a cure is a community value. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Next up, Dr. Kessler, and then Dr. Robinson over here, and Ryan Ray. Dr. Kessler?
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is a very important potential charter amendment. But I want to ask a question before I begin what I want to say. And the question goes to Mr. Long, and it pertains to that these things are being addressed, these things that we're trying to cure are being addressed at the present time. And my question is, at each and every step in our county government, when a decision is being made, are the people thinking in terms of how will this adversely affect certain groups of our community going forward? Is this taking place right now?
Madam Chair, yeah, I'd have to just say, I think the democratic process dictates that it does. I mean, we have numerous agenda, except that we don't wait for an assessment to be done. We do it in real time. And commissioners are elected and voted to address those hard issues in real time every day. And that's why we do analysis. When on any issue that comes up, you won't find many counties that do more thorough analysis than we do in terms of looking at all of the issues and trying to determine what we're looking at. And I mean, the county attorney and I were just having a conversation off to the side here. We don't just look at what was illegal. I mean, I think the language here speaks to making a determination that something had to be determined to be illegal for us to take action on. We look at issues that may just be disproportionate. We may look at issues that may be just vulnerable populations. We look at all kinds of things. So it's something we do on an ongoing basis. It would be, again, we would have to go through just almost endless policies and programs and initiatives to show the extent to which we currently do that. Do we do an assessment, though? Now I have to be very clear. Do we do an assessment that's of the nature that that Dr. Strobel is advancing? We don't do that assessment. So anyway, I hope that helps.
That does help, and it does clarify, and that's points, I think, it should point everyone in this room to getting on board and making sure this gets on the ballot so that it can be voted on. You know, we've seen the placement of undesirable infrastructure and businesses in certain areas in the past. And what we're trying to cure, at least going forward, is that this doesn't persist. We never see the, I think you were very gracious and kind in that it just so happened that there was a certain population of people there. I don't see it that graciously. I see it that there was an intent in the past to place infrastructure that would be considered undesirable in the neighborhoods where people were less able to resist it and more able to be taken advantage of. And that's what we need to cure. You know, it's gone on for centuries. When I was a commissioner in Wakulla County, which wasn't that long ago, there was still a major subdivision there with discriminatory language in it, disallowing people of certain race or color to buy a house in that area. It's been cured. But, you know, leaders change, politics change, board members change. That's why this needs to be in the charter. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks very much. Dr. Robinson, Temple Robinson.
Good afternoon. I think most of us, if not all of us here, believe in the concept of what we're talking about. And as Committee Member Jones said, if we put something forward, we want to try to put something forward that would pass, that is broad enough that the ick factor for certain voters would not be triggered, but also what I see missing here, it says historic public policies or governmental practices later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional. Well, sometimes it's not something that you did, but it's something maybe that you didn't do. So we may want to look at not only practices and policies, but also omissions, because some things happen by benign neglect. And it may not be unlawful or unconstitutional. Things happen that we do or don't do just simply may be unethical or unkind or just not nice. All right? And there's no law against it. So the concept of this, I think, is meets with my Judeo-Christian upbringing, all right? But I do say that I want us to be real careful. We have a lot of press here. We want our constituents, our friends to know that everything that happens may have some racial outcome, but all actions are not necessarily racist, okay? So we want to be real careful. When we look at Highway 20, right, and access to health care, okay? And you look at the demographic out there, that community has their flag up. Hey, what about us? And then we go out Bannerman Road, it's beautiful. But we have people living on Bannerman Road can't get to the main road because their house is on a dirt road. And when it floods, they don't have access to health care because they can't get out. So I love what we're trying to do. I still think we got to put some more time into it so that when it's worded, that ick factor of historic public, because I can see historic public policies that are later determined to be unethical and unconstitutional. Once you say historic, something we did back then to them, whoever them are, okay? And they and those. We don't want the commissioners to fail when they put this on the ballot if it goes to the ballot. So I just think that as we look forward, as we go forward and have these discussions, we need to start thinking about the word smithing. That's it.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm correct on this, but I think if you wanted to make a friendly amendment, that's something that can be considered at some point too, on what we've got before us right now. All right, at this point we have Ryan Ray, Chauncey Haynes, and then Katrina Togerson coming up.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ryan.
Madam Chairwoman. Yeah, I think knowing that I'll be short, I'm for this. I supported it the first time. I'm looking forward to supporting this good plan again. I think knowing the community in Leon County, this is probably likely to be the most popular thing on the ballot. I think it'll be actually, unlike the sort of consolidation question, which I think will be unpopular and divisive, this will be super popular and kind of bring people together. I think this has a possibility to be the thing that gets the most votes on the county ballot this year. And I think I encourage my fellow members to keep this important conversation by joining me in voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Chauncey Haynes up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, if I can I ask the county administrator a question? In all due respect to our former county, one of our other former county commissioners, Dr. Lewis, about, it is our job to do policy. I just like to ask, do other county commissions or other counties that deal with this charter process, do they deal with policy issues when they get together and work on their charter?
Generally not. I mean, again, that was day one together, right? We talked a lot about that. So generally not. It's structural. I mean, going to Commissioner Lewis's point about districting, fair game in a charter. That's structure. Do I want to create more at-large seats? Do we want to do something else? Policy is, again, boards are authorized and have the ability to develop policy. Again, so generally you don't see it. It's generally more issues of governance, structure, authority, power, those types of broad issues.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. And that takes me to my second point. We've talked about not making this a DEI issue, but as much as we talk that it's not, I've listened to every comment and it just keeps coming up, almost every other comment. It is race. What about how what was done back then? This is about race. And in Senate Bill 1134, and it talks about that, but that duck, if we hit it, and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. We're gonna say it's not, but it is. But we're saying here around this table, and I just wanted to bring it up that we keep talking about that it's not race, but race keeps coming into this conversation, even though we say that it should not be. And my last point, for those that have the right to speak at this point in time around the table, my last point is, if the harms are historic, why would our assessments be reoccurring? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks very much. Ms. Tuggerson.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I think so.
I just want to, I too voted against this, but I want to say thank you for bringing clarity. I voted against it because I didn't understand the clarity of what was going on, and you stood in the gap, what all of us have been doing for our community for years. So thank you for that. I also want to say thank you to the county. I have been standing in the gap from the business perspective, right along with Mr. Jones, and making sure that we fill the gap in what we're doing and bringing that disparity through the county component. Right following along with board member Kessler, it is piggyback on some of the things he said, but Mr. Haynes was the very last one. And I'm going to make a comment towards what you were just saying. We hate that we're talking about DEI, but the whole world is. So I think it's okay that we're talking about DEI or changing the language and addressing it. This is the way that we know to do it without saying DEI. We took DEI out of the language. Well, I didn't take it out. Let me rephrase that. The DEI was taken out of the language so it wouldn't be offensive to anybody. But the times that we're in and things that are going on is making us have conversations. So I don't think it's wrong for us to have the conversations that we're having because we need to address them. We also got to address, we got things coming up in this community, even that's going to hurt the business community as far as the MWSBE office. So we have to address that and have language for that as well. So talking about this, the county is doing an amazing job. I work right along with them. Pretty much, I want to say the Capital City Chamber work right along with them with Shinkness office just about every day. But at the same time, Mr. Vince Long, his team is not going to always be in place. He just happened to have a heart for what he does. But why I'm not going to always be in place. I say I'm going to retire every day. Every day. And all of us around here are experts. Mr. Lewis, it's an honor to have him sitting at the table, but he's still living to tell the story. So I think it's, I voted no the first time because I didn't have clarity. But today I'm going to vote yes, because I think we should continue to have healthy conversations at the time where we're not mad, we're not fighting against each other, and it's good, clean, and healthy. And for the business community, and I'm going to just say this, we having a conversation, so till I'm talking to the Greater Tallahassee Chamber every day. I was doing it prior, but we are seeing things coming down the pipeline, and we cannot just sit and not allow our community to come together and have healthy discussions about it, because every day I wake up, when I convene the Capital City Chamber of Commerce back together, I wasn't ashamed of who I am or being a Black woman, but I took the words African American out so that I can serve the whole community. And that's what we are doing. And when we serve the whole community from a good heart, it makes impact. And that's why we're able to have conversations right along the side, the Greater Tallahassee Chamber, to help everybody get it right from the business perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Slayton Murray, I think you're up next. Then,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Administrator Long, a point you have in here, about investment that goes into impoverished communities through Blueprint. Blueprint was recently renewed, right? And so if you were to extrapolate the funding that'll probably go into the infrastructure of these impoverished, not the same impoverished neighborhoods, but impoverished neighborhoods around our community, it's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars if you take it at, what we did previously. So I think the money is going to be going to these communities one way or another to improve upon infrastructure, which what I'm hearing from everyone has been like a main concern about historical wrongs. So you could argue that that funding in some mechanism is going to improve that kind of infrastructure. So I think the county's doing a good job in, supporting some of the infrastructure wrongs and improving them in these impoverished communities. So I just wanted to point that out to the committee, that there is money for infrastructure that is going to these efforts. And we'll continue to go to because Blueprint was renewed. Thank you.
thank you. Dr. Henry Lewis, I think you're up next. If you were, still in the queue.
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh.
Couple of things. I want to respond back to Committee Member Haynes' comment. I did talk about our role as a policymaking body, not a procedure developing body. And I think if we get too prescriptive in trying to develop the procedures to implement the policy that we pass, that's not our role here as a committee, in my estimation, quite frankly. When we started this, there was no Senate bill. You remember that? This bill passed while we were in panel as a committee. So had that bill not passed, we would not be having a lot of discussion we're having right now on the same issue. And I think the individuals who brought forth this were working on this long before Senate Bill 11, whatever it is, passed in that regard. I mentioned about the bus boycott in 1956. 9 months later, the federal judge ruled that the bus system in Tallahassee unconstitutional. I hope 9 months later somebody rules this bill unconstitutional in that regard as well, because in my estimation it is. When we passed the Constitution and we about to celebrate 250 years, a lot has changed. But the fundamentals of that Constitution has not changed. And we have people now trying to change the fundamentals of our Constitution. And we should not let that happen. And when that does happen, we should try to fight that and reverse it back in that regard. In a sense, this is about race, but in a bigger sense, it's about the people of Tallahassee being treated fairly, equitably, and have the same opportunities that everybody else did. It is bigger than just the words on this page that being proposed for us. Committee Member Jones was very accurate when he said words matter, and I think the wording in this document right now, I have some problems with. I was one who, if you remember, I did not support this the last time either. But I am going to support it with some changes coming forth right now. And I don't know when the proper time is, but I came to this meeting with my proposed changes. So I don't know if this is the proper time to start
So
talking about that.
the proper time is now. I mean, this is on the table.
Let me go first start with the staff recommendation to us in our agenda packet. In the proposed ballot title, are the words Citizens Charter Review Committee required? Because that takes up 4 words right there.
Now you're editing.
No, I'm asking that for real.
Kidding. I can't hear you.
Are those words required in the ballot language? And will the other items that we pass have that same Charter Review Committee language in it, in the title?
You are right, because every word counts.
Yes.
75.
But for the title, it is 15.
15, right.
Uh,
That's 4 of the 15 I'm talking about.
While it does provide, good context on the ballot to, know where a request did originate from, we will confirm whether it is required. And if this does get advanced, we'll provide all that context at your public hearings.
And if it does, I want to propose the ballot title language to read, affirmation of the county commission's commitment to historically unserved areas and vulnerable populations in our community, removing the words citizen, charter, review, and committee as the title language for this proposed ballot title. Affirmation of county's commitment to historically unserved areas and vulnerable populations in our community. I think that's 14 words, if I count correctly, including the A.
So just for context, the title that you're looking at, that is specific to the preamble proposal within the item.
Yeah.
However, that title can still be used if you wanted to apply it to the proposal being presented by Member Strobel. that's an option as well.
So technically, though, in the ballot language, the Charter Review Committee is not putting forth the language. The county commission is putting forth the language.
No, it's for the committee to decide what that language is. And then as you approve it in your public hearings, it will be presented to the board for their final approval.
Okay, all right. And so I would like, should I make a motion for that, or that's going to be taken care of at the staff level?
It can be a substitute motion or a friendly amendment.
This motion is on the ballot language. I'm on the title language right now.
I would think that would be a friendly amendment. A substitute motion would be more all encompassing, wouldn't it?
Is that
Friendly amendment.
Well, I offer it as a friendly amendment to read again. Affirmation of county's commitment to historically underserved areas and vulnerable populations in our community, period.
Yeah, I'd like to know that too.
I'm in the title,
Page 12.
page 12, I'm sorry.
Of the packet.
In the packet, page.
I'm just
looking
looking
at
at
the
the
packet.
header, I'm sorry.
That's what we're rolling.
This is a ballot title.
Okay.
So would you repeat that, please?
Affirmation of county's commitment to historically underserved areas and vulnerable populations in our community.
So accept the friendly amendment. Okay.
That's, if you second,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Secondly, I'd like to propose a second friendly amendment to amend the ballot language to end at the word historic public policies or governmental practices, period. And removing the words later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional.
On the sample ballot.
On the sample ballot as proposed by committee members Strobel.
Say it again?
Yes.
On page 12 as well?
No, I'm on, the-
What page is that on?
Sample ballot.
It is also available on the screen.
it's on the screen there now. Right. So on the screen, I'm proposing to, in the charter amendment language, add the word practices in the second to the last line and delete later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional. If
You're deleting later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional.
Yes.
And it practices.
Right.
Accepted? Accepted.
Because that includes benign neglect, that includes omissions,
And all of that, yes.
all of that. Just put
Uh-huh. Any intent, basically. Yeah.
Okay, let me restate both of my amendments. Title, it shall read, Affirmation of County's Commitment to Historically Underserved and Vulnerable Populations in Our Community, period. And in the proposed ballot language, on the screen, everything except the second to the last line, deleting the words later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional.
Is everybody clear on that? Thank you. All right. We still have, pardon me?
Except that I now propose the ballot language and the sample ballot language as previously indicated. I can get a second.
Well, I don't know that you need a second on that. We're just back to friendly amendments on the original proposal within both the language and the title. Got it? Got it. Okay. Right. We have other people who are up to speak on this. I'm not sure if I still have Joey Davis, Howard Kessler, Daryl Jones, Dr. Robertson. Okay. Joey Davis,
Am I speaking to the amendment?
you're speaking to whatever you want to speak to.
Amendment. I like the way you think. So, my thinking coming into the meeting has definitely changed a good bit during the conversation. I like the idea of providing a reporting mechanism that catches issues that intentionally or unintentionally were caused. I do think that it's entirely the job of the commission to evaluate the decisions that they make or were made in the past and how they have affected people. White, black, purple, pink, doesn't matter. I do agree with the statement of we need to make this, try to wordsmith this so that people understand the intent and don't get caught up with certain words of what is presented to them. To your point regarding why is this a continuous process if we're saying historic, I think that's a word that we need to consider removing from the language of the amendment, because it's entirely likely, and this wording should be evergreen. This is going into our charter. This isn't something to address one issue in the past and that's it, and we're going to move on. This is something to keep us, not only address that, but keep us from making mistakes in the future. And it's entirely foreseeable that we will make mistakes in the future. I think something for us all to consider is no matter what we put into this as it pertains to what we've talked about so far, it still all comes back to the commissioners from the standpoint of there's nothing in here that says that they have to do anything about any of those situations or to what level they do them. It's to them at that point to fix that. This ensures that those issues are discussed, talked about, and put before those commissioners, because in the end, they are the ones who should be held responsible for whether or not certain things are addressed. One question regarding the amendment. Are you not concerned to the extent that we may water down the intent of the charter amendment if we remove those lines, basically? If we're saying that, this is any intent that is affected, we then make it so broad that it becomes difficult to actually for a commission to actually put into practice.
Excellent question. And I totally agree that, and with you as well as Committee Member Jones, that you want something that's going to pass. And I'm trying to, I guess, avoid buzzwords that would trigger certain individuals to not want to support what we're trying to do here in that regard. And I'm sensitive, particularly to your word historic. I think that might be a word that I would agree to take out as well, because that might trigger things that we would not want to happen in that regard. So if that's a friendly amendment to the friendly amendment, I accept it.
So moved.
Wait a minute.
So moved.
What did we just do?
So are we, I'm
We
not,
just took out-
I think
he's
you
recommended
two are having a
take it
chat
out.
over there, but where
To remove historic. from the
historic,
actual-
and you're
yeah.
kind of backtracking a little bit and saying you're kind of having second thoughts on pulling that out.
No, I think.
Or that it might water it down.
No, the question was to whether or not removing the later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional
I'm sorry,
would then
that's-
make it so broad that it becomes difficult to put into practice. That was just basically a policy question for either of you, having been former commissioners. Right.
Right, so.
Right.
So we can take it out. But historic might trigger individuals that would vote against it, and I don't have any problem.
Okay, well then I make a motion that we amend the language to remove historic from the
Remove historic
yes.
public policies? Or what do you, just the word historic?
Yeah, just the word historic.
Friendly amendment? Yeah,
Except.
well, you do accept it. Oh, I thought you said accept. Okay. All right. We're good. All right then. Member Darrell Jones, I think.
If I may defer yet again, I do believe
Uh-huh.
those two ladies' cards were up before mine. But
Okay, well, Dr. Robertson, thank you.
So it's.
I'm feeling so chivalrous.
You are. And honestly, I kind of am trying to keep my eyes on the left and the right and the straight, and I'm sorry if I'm getting out of order. Have at it. Dr. Robertson.
Okay. A legal question to legal. So earlier, before we started the conversation on the removal of the word historic, that is the word that was giving me a little bit of pause because like when we look at data to address whatever it is in any geographic region, I think the assessment should be to continue to address contemporary things too. That was the only thing, that was one of the things that was giving me pause. So with the removal of the word historic, is there any problem with the current state statute that was passed or any of the federal things that were passed from a legal standpoint?
Ms. Norton, you want to weigh in on that?
So are we talking about just the sample ballot language or the sample amendment text?
Well, I want to make sure that for the sample ballot language that we're proposing, since we're here and we have it, that if we were to vote to approve this, that it's not in any direct conflict with the state statute or any federal regulation or any other federal thing that's going on, executive order.
So I can look at, I'm going to actually cross it out and then look at it because it just happened. So if you give me a second, but all I'm going to be able to answer is on its face and not necessarily anything that relates to what impact is made as a result of that or what actions are taken as a result of that and how that would be treated.
Okay. Yeah, you said you're going to answer.
I couldn't hear it.
You need to read.
Okay.
So hold on.
Okay, yeah. Linda Bond Edwards, well, yeah.
Thank you. I do,
Gosh.
as a matter of fact, the, on my little paper here, I had made the exact changes that Committee Member Davis and Committee Member Lewis recommended. But I also want to address the specific question that Mr. Davis addressed and as to whether or not any of those changes perhaps might water it down. I think the words adverse community conditions puts it, is are saving words, if you will, to make it more effective. It also gives a level of breadth to what's being proposed because it doesn't identify what the adverse condition is. It allows someone who may question whether or not this is being fulfilled to identify what that adverse action is. So I think it actually gives the breadth that I think we're looking for in the language. I also think that with those changes that this sample ballot language should be, I hope, empowering for citizens, that not just of a particular, any citizen really, if they believe that some action or some policy or practice by the county has a particular adverse impact on them, that this provides an avenue for them to bring it forward.
To challenge it, right.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, You have certainly got a comment.
Just to follow up, now that I've read it through. So it's very broad now. I don't know if we can pull it up on the screen, but just if you're reading this, it now says review and response regarding adverse community conditions related to public policies or governmental practices. And so as your member said, words matter. So then we're looking at, well, what is an adverse community condition? What does that mean? How is that defined? Is that any adverse community condition related to any governmental policy, any governmental practice? So I would definitely have some questions, not necessarily related to DEI or the bill, but more questions about what direction we're providing in general to the commission.
So just to add on to that a little bit, we're trying very hard, obviously, to give this committee as much latitude as possible. So I don't want to ever, it seem like we're trying to defend too much. Or we've given you a lot of guidance, the best guidance we could throughout the process. But because, let's just say it the way it is, because we're trying to avoid this issue so much of historic harm, we're taking words out. And now it applies to everything. I can tell you, and I think everybody here knows, that anytime the county commission makes a decision, there's half the people feel adversely impacted by the decision. Right. It's going to become a problem in terms of what are you assessing? What is your assessment assessing? Is it every motion that prevailed at a county commission meeting that had an adverse impact on someone? Because it would be all of them. Again, I think that's the only guidance that I would have for you, something to consider in terms of the removing of the language. Again, I understand what the committee's trying to do in being sensitive to the language. We are as well. But again, you could very quickly get to a place where I think we're going now, which is it becomes difficult to determine what you're trying to assess. Anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, yeah, all right, we have Mr. Jones, if you would like to add to this. I have some thoughts on it, but I'll wait till everybody else has spoken.
So one of the things that I think is well, for me, let me just speak for myself. What excites me about being on this committee, as well as being an elected, is that as we think about democracy, right? We, as the members of this committee, and me as a member of the school board and the members of the Leon County Commission, we are a representative democracy. Here now, with this potentially going to the public, we will then realize direct democracy. For all of our deliberations, right, we are bringing, as members of this committee, we're bringing forth the influence potentially of those who appointed us, as well as our own particular perspectives, which will then tailor what we've done in this whole process has been emblematic of what has been our points of view. But ultimately, the direct democracy born of our neighbors, when they go to vote for this, that will be how we will then set forth our values as a community. And that is what is has been most exciting, because this will more than likely be our last meeting of my having been here with you all. Now, what I also enjoy about this is the process. Many of you have heard me quote Derek McGee often, Reverend Derek McGee, when he says, "I cannot unsee what I have seen, and I can't unknow what is known." Well, here now at this community assessment, those electeds, because see, what we want to do, and if you notice there's a reoccurring theme, we want to make certain that the values that have been expressed by our current administration endure. Who would have ever thought that you'd have school board members who would support charter schools? But there are communities where they believe in taking public tax dollars and giving them to private industry, right? So here now, we are making certain that the things that we hold sacrosanct and that are being expressed now through the work of this current administration and this current dais will endure. Because as I've said before, we will one day have a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, And here now we are ensuring that the things that we hold dear to us now, no matter who's elected, even when Commissioner Proctor will be enjoying his 50th year on the commission, right? The values that we hold dear to us now will be expressed. And so this is really a legacy project, right? And here now we have the opportunity for our voters to say, right? And that's what's most important here for all of our words. And that's why wordsmithing has mattered to us, because we want to make certain that our voters will see themselves in that language, and that in this exercise of direct democracy, we can continue to maintain those sacrosanct values, that we do provide cure, that we think about this. Some of you have been here long enough to remember we had an opportunity to bring a biomass plant here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And for all of the intel that was telling us that was the potential adverse effects to our environment and to our own quality of life and well-being, those few shekels of silver were not going to be worth it for us. Here now we say again through this language that we will not make decisions that provide adverse conditions, right? And if we need to wordsmith that further at the behest or the guidance of the county administrator, I think we ought to take that on as well, but that we make certain that future electeds and future commissions will make decisions that hold the safety and the quality of life for all citizens, and make certain that we do not make decisions that are adversely continue any historic mistakes that we've made in the past. But moving forward in our community, we continue to hold certain things sacrosanct. So that's why I'm excited about what we're doing here. I'm excited about the assessment that is done, because here now we are reminding ourselves of where we are, what we're doing, and that we will, as the doctor will appreciate, that we'll do no harm. And that's critically important, not just the cure, but moving forward, we, as the doctors take their oath, that we do no harm. So this is exciting conversation, and whatever else we need to do before we finalize it, not just that it will pass, but that our neighbors will see themselves in this opportunity for direct democracy to vote to ensure that that the values we hold dear as a community will endure beyond our own tenure here and beyond the careers of the persons who are currently elected.
Thank you. Linda Bond Edwards, are you still in the queue, or yes, comment?
Still in the queue. I have a question for Mr. Long as it relates to the statement that he just made about the breadth of the adverse community conditions. Does this committee need to provide guidance on what that might mean? Or if this passes in the county's implementation of it, can the county put some parameters around what those adverse community conditions are?
Frankly, I think that's what the commission was looking for this committee to tell them. And again, so again, I'll start by saying, you know, we, from a county standpoint, where we needed a little bit more, you know, guidance from you all is what a charter amendment would look like. Again, given that there's not one in existence like this, what would it be? We wouldn't have per se had a problem with the way it was originally, you know, written. If that was the way the board wanted to advance this to the county commission, again, we would have advanced it just that way. You're getting very quickly to a place where it is where ambiguity and the vagueness of it could become an issue, even legally. I don't want to speak to that. That's something that Emily and Chastity will take a look at. You have to tell the voters what they're voting on.
That's right.
So again, so that's the only time really you're hearing us sort of perk up a little bit. It could be that, and I'm not suggesting that you go back to this, but it could be at least the way it was written earlier, that it may have been more clear of what you were trying to address. And because you're not just voting on the ballot language, you're also, with the motion on the floor, the way we've taken it is that it's this sample text here, which Dr. Strobel has provided some some clarity, some guidelines for us. Now, whatever you do, one of the things we'd have to clean up too is make his language here and purpose and assessments and public policy impact. We'd have to make it consistent with whatever you all decide on the ballot language too. So we would remove that language that you all remove from the ballot language in this other information as well, just to make it consistent. But yes, Ms. Edwards, again, I think that's really what the board was looking for when they said for this board to go back and review based on everything you know about what we currently do on a geographical basis, on a data-driven basis, investments, programs, policies. What would such a charter amendment look like? And that's what we were again to receive from you all today, whether it's something that you wanted to advance or not.
So just a follow-up question, if I may. So is that something that could go, if there is one, and it's been a minute since I looked at the charter, is there a definition section in the charter or somewhere where this could be defined or some examples of adverse community conditions, or does it need to be defined specifically in this language?
Yeah, no, there's not a definition section. What we would have to do is take the preamble, or not the preamble, the ballot language, and then create a section in the charter, which very closely reflects what the voters voted on and memorializes that in our charter. And that's what we would do. That would be the effort.
Thank you.
But it is safe to say that by keeping the word adverse in there, we are handing the Board of County Commissioners a real problem, probably day in and day out. I mean, excuse me, I understand. I just feel compelled to weigh in here on this particular piece of this. If we're saying adverse, I mean, as is, this comes up every single meeting on every single topic. We had a hellacious county commission meeting where the wild bird folks were fighting the feral cat people, and it was adverse to somebody or another. Everything is going to have an adverse reaction. I almost feel like you should delete adverse and keep later determined to be unlawful or unconstitutional. It would be cleaner. But that train has left the station, I guess, unless you're this is really getting out of control with me talking, I know, but
Chair, would allow to interject.
just quickly. Interject quickly.
If we adjusted adverse and place it to adverse policies, between two and policies, because the reaction is to the policies of government, but the disparate community conditions is what you're really talking about. The disparate community conditions that have resulted from adverse policies. I like to suggest your consideration of adverse being placed in front of the policies.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Subjective.
I don't know. I don't see how that changes it, quite honestly. We have some other people lined up to speak. Max Hurley, you haven't spoken yet today.
Did anyone else want to speak about the adverse condition issue?
Well,
Dr. Robinson, did you wish to speak to that? Are you changing topics?
I was just going to speak to it at large.
Okay.
well, my concern is that I'm concerned that we're watering down the product here. And this is going, if it went before the ballot like this, most people wouldn't know what we're talking about. And I think we know what we're trying to say, and we're trying to say it in an acceptable way and make sure that we have the right number of letters and the right number of words. But I think we run the risk of watering down the product because public reporting and board county commissioners review and response regarding adverse community conditions related to public policies and governmental practices. It's not time stamped. You know, I could come up and say, well, you know, you put sidewalk on this side of the street, but you didn't put one on my side of the street. So then the question is, how do these concerns come before the assessing body? Who weighs it to say what even needs to go before the commission? So I just think we maybe need to slow down, remember what we were trying to look at, And if we don't want to use the word historic, pick another word, because this could reflect something that happened during the Revolutionary War. This could happen, something that happened during the Civil War. It could something happen during the Civil Rights time. Somebody could have annexed some farmland from somebody else. So historic public policy, I mean, we're going down a slippery slope here. Now, I think we know what we want to do, those of us who think we need to pass this, but I think we need to slow down in the wording and really think about what we're saying here.
All right. Mr. Hurley, you're up next.
Thank you. We are a community who knows our history and honors our heroes. We name streets after them. We build statues to them. And who are our heroes in this community? Our heroes are the people who build community and the people who stand up against injustice. And I just asked you all in this room, where were you in 1851 when Florida State University was created? Where were you in 1887 when FAMU was created? Where were you in 1948 when Tallahassee Memorial Hospital was created? Where were you in 1985 when COCA was created? Where were you in 1989 when Blueprint was created? In 2026, I'm going to tell everyone that I was in the Leroy Collins Main Library in Meeting Room A when I voted yes on the Leon County Community Assessment Amendment, and I hope you all join me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Dr. Robertson.
I'm back to my question. What do we want? Like, I want to hear, because we've done a lot of wordsmithing. I want to go back to the person that proposed it. I want to understand, like, what is it that we want the commission to consider for the people to vote on? Like, what is the ultimate, like, outcome that you're trying to get at so we can better understand this? Because the words have gotten a little muddy here.
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
May I add a question to her question? And I guess how would we decide came before the assessing body, whoever is doing the assessing? What are we picking?
Excellent. So great questions. Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Great questions. Similar, I think I'm going to take that second part first. Similar to how we were given directives with this committee, for example, if there was a committee form, we saw the commission say, here's something we want you to look at, and then they gave us also some leeway to consider other things. I could imagine a process like that, but to avoid getting into those policy specifics and being too prescriptive, that is not in the language. We leave that up to the commission and staff to determine on their own. To your question, Dr. Robertson, I think I accepted the amendments because I believe they have the intent on helping. I'm worried, however, that with both of them, it may make us a little too general. So I don't know if with the people who made the friendly amendments, if you're willing to withdraw one, but I don't know if we could take both out. If we take out historic and unconstitutional, it leaves it open to anything anyone perceives as adverse. So that's my only concern going forward, is that we need one or the other, or we need a replacement of something. And that's what I'm open to at this point. But I don't want to leave it so general that it loses its intent. Right. So I offer that to the committee.
And you're kind of saying if you return historic to it.
But you accepted the amendments.
He accepted the friendly
Changed his mind
amendments.
because he doesn't want the product watered down.
So one suggestion is to replace adverse with damaging community.
It's a synonym.
And I understand the concern about words that may trigger voters the wrong way. Just from my experience and what's happening in my inbox on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing we could do to hide from that. People are going to find something to be upset about. So I don't want to be overly or what we call unnecessarily compliant with stuff that is not intended to be enforced. We do have to make some decisions and send it to the voters, and it'll be a job of the commission and the people who care about this to explain to people what's going on also. So I still offer that we can change words, but we have to do something to make it just slightly more specific. So I still offer that to the committee.
So I'm asking, so typically in assessments, the outcomes of assessments, you identify adverse things through the assessment, right? Like you don't typically go in and say you're going to do an assessment to look at adverse things. Like an assessment in itself, using data will determine the good things, the bad things, the in-between things, right? So when you say we're going to tell them we want to look at adverse conditions, like that's the problem when you take out that word. So if it was an assessment, the assessment is going to tell you the things that's working in the community, the things that's not working. So I'm just like wondering what is the intent of the assessment?
So it's not only to look at, and I think I understand some of the questions you had earlier now, it's not just the community conditions alone. I'm also looking at their association with policies that cause them so that we could come up with policy mediation or remediation of said conditions. So I think that's important. And that's why originally it said historic policies, because I was thinking that policies that happened in the past, we would have some time to show that there was an ongoing or a long-standing adverse condition versus if we just leave it how we kind of altered it, people could say that they have an adverse condition to something that was decided a few weeks ago. And there's not enough data to actually verify that. So I still offer we may want to withdraw one of those amendments or offer a replacement of one of the words that was stricken. I got a suggestion for damaging, but I'm still open to more committee discussion, and we still have some time, so you don't have to rush it.
We do have time. Well, if you would, I hear you saying that you would really prefer to put historic back in and not accept the friendly amendment. I mean, that would get us back to a more honest place.
For it to be withdrawn rather than kick it out. Right?
Well,
May we substitute the word previous?
Previous public policies, past public policies,
Past, either way.
past.
but,
No, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
well, even that, I mean, previous is a week before last. I mean, I think honesty says,
They're not
I
being
think
held
honesty
constitutional
demands we
every
keep the word historic in there because that's where we started with this. I mean, this amendment is going to rise and fall on a lot of things, but just to, honestly, to me, water it down to take out historic, I think is just like everyone will say, well, what the heck do they mean by all of this? You know, we have to have some clarity. We can't be so timid. I think Mr. Jones said we want modesty of language, but we've gotten so modest that I think people might not know what the heck we're doing here. So to me, I would get historic back in a heartbeat. And you could leave adverse or take it out, but I would keep it.
I'm fine to take that out if that's what you prefer.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's your proposal, and we're going to vote on your proposal as well as the language, the title, as well as all of this material that we have attached to it. So, okay, what?
Well, and let me clarify, because I don't want anyone to interpret
Your
or
modesty.
translate my words. When I talk about language and modesty of language, I want it to be clearly understood by anybody who votes on it. And so when we talk about communication in Europe, longtime journalists, semantics and syntax matters. Word choice, word order, right? And so we've got a lot of big words in there, and that's why I said my most important instruction I said was keep it simple.
Well, clarity matters also.
Yes, so that's
It's not syntax.
that's why I made no recommendations relative to the word change. I just wanted to be clearly understood by anybody who was going to vote on it. I didn't say to water it down. I just said to be clear.
All right. Are you up next? I think so. Chauncey Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, you know, there's a reason why, again, this is brought back to us. The first time it was 9-9. The commission is sending it back. And we've gone now 2 hours, and sounds like we could go a little bit longer. But I would, Madam Chair, I would like to propose, move a substitute motion on page 12, which is already listed table 2, the proposed ballot title, proposed ballot language, to the preamble. If you can all go to page 12, I move a substitute motion, which is listed in our handout. It's table 2, proposed ballot title and ballot language.
The entire thing as
Yeah,
it's written there.
as it is written there. I will move a substitute motion.
I hear a second on the substitute motion. Failing that, the substitute motion dies. We're back to the original motion as amended. I'm not sure what your position is on
I'm
historic.
I'm good with historic. At this point, I believe that gives it it keeps the framework, and with the rest of it, I think this is ready to move forward if the rest of the committee sees fit.
And the county administrator had a comment on that? Is that correct?
I think the moment might have passed. The only thing I was just going to add, I think the preamble language that was discussed previously, I just wanted to point out, just to help the committee, I heard a lot of conversation about we want to memorialize values. We want to memorialize, make sure that we're addressing issues, that it's not just the administration that's in place today, but the preamble is the part of a charter document that is an expression of your values. Without getting so specific, which I think you're having difficulty on the specifics here on the other one, which again, you can see here reads, shall the preamble of the Leon County Charter be amended to affirm the county's commitment to addressing the needs of historically underserved geographical areas and vulnerable populations of the community while preserving the county's existing framework for local self-governments, community values, and citizen empowerment. Just wanted to be clear so you guys understood what the substitute motion was, provide clarity there. Thank you.
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Well, you all, I mean, we didn't get a second just to taking the preamble. I mean, if that's something to reconsider.
Yeah, but I guess, may I?
Yeah, please.
I guess the confusion for me is that, but the proposed ballot language talks about shall the preamble of the Leon County Home Charter be amended. So I guess I wasn't quite sure what the recommendation was. That's why I was waiting on someone else to second.
There's two ways to amend a charter. You can amend the preamble, or you can have a charter amendment that goes into the body of the document, I think, which is Dr. Strobel's proposal. The only thing we were illuminating in the item, because we've heard this committee talk about memorializing what's happening now. We're memorializing making sure that it's not transient, making sure that it's in place. As you did, Commissioner Jones, or Committee Member Jones, as you said with your previous language, that
Human dignity.
The dignity, that again, you're expressing that this preamble, just another option for the committee, would be to establish those values in the words that are expressed here in terms of addressing the needs of historically underserved geographical areas, which is consistent with all of our analysis, with everything that we do today. Again, would give you that option. That's all I wanted to just point out there. And again, Madam Chair, I'll hand it back.
All right. Do we have any more comments? Dr. Kessler?
Thank you. So, two things. One is on the adverse discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at it as being that difficult a thing. And I think that we're leaving it pretty much in the hands of the commission to basically sort that out with maybe a prioritization. So I'll go back to medicine, where you have a differential diagnosis. And you can have a differential diagnosis and it can have 50 things, okay? But maybe the first 5 of those things can kill somebody if you don't make the right diagnosis or rule it out, okay? So we leave that up to the commission and the administrator to have that discussion and come up where the rubber hits the road, the most important things. It's not our job to get down into those weeds. The other thing is, I don't know what people feel about before the word adverse, the word potential. I just bring it out just as a point of interest.
All right, as a point of interest, but I don't hear anything. I mean, is that, it's just adding language.
No,
We do have a certain number of words to stick to.
Yeah,
Yeah. Dr. Robinson?
I'm sorry. I want to make sure that when I vote, I'm making an informed decision. If we could please go back to the proposed ballot title. I think, and maybe I got lost in the sauce here. The proposed ballot title.
Just change it, affirmation of county's commitment to historically underserved areas. Was affirmation of the county's commitment to historically underserved areas, period.
Period.
Getting rid of this proposed by the chart. I believe that's correct.
Affirmation of the county's commitment to historical underserved areas and vulnerable populations.
Yes.
And vulnerable and vulnerable in our community. You're correct. We just deleted the as proposed by the Charter Review Committee.
Okay, and vulnerable population.
And vulnerable population. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. And now, well, we had previously, you saw the ballot language.
Yes.
So ballot language different from the preamble, which we've already, right, the county administrator's comments.
Yes,
was being rather clear. Okay. All right. So
we got one more.
On the title.
We're getting the title back up there. Affirmation of county's commitment to historically underserved areas and vulnerable populations in our community, period. That's the title. The proposed ballot language right now, would you like me to read it again? Shall the Home Rule Charter of Leon County, Florida be amended to provide for a recurring community impact assessment process, public reporting, and Board of County Commissioners review and response regarding adverse community conditions related to historic public policies or governmental practices, period. So those are the two things we're voting on, and
then it would need to be clear what this actual amendment that you're voting on. So the two options that you've discussed are whether it's the preamble or the amendment detailed by committee member Strobel and provided in his handout.
but the preamble suggestion went down. So it's not the preamble, it's the charter amendment, the language of the title. And then you also have this sample, this text that goes with it, right?
What the actual,
I mean, that's
how the charter would be amended.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
We would just have to make this, let me just clarify real quick. We would just have to make this text that's been provided here consistent with the ballot language that you ultimately approve, and we can do that.
That's all of this. So we're going to really be voting on three things, and I think we can do it in one vote.
I've had
I'm
this up for a
sorry.
while. I
I'm
know.
sorry.
I
I'm
had it
very
this way
sorry.
and you
No,
saw it, but
no, you're, and
that's okay.
100%.
This was the
Go
question
for it.
that I don't know if you can hear me again, Jay Terry. This was the question that I had before. We've had about a 2.5 hour discussion on the actual ballot language, not actually on the information that's going in the charter itself, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That
Yeah,
going,
you on both these, they go together, but we would have to basically take what Mr. Strobel proposed here, and from that, we would have to form what would be, if
Right.
approved on the ballot language, what would go into the charter.
Right. So for a variety of discussions, what we have here, it seems to suggest that we're asking voters if they want the charter to provide for this. And what that means, as I understand it, is that it would lay out or mandate or organize the structures. And I'm going to be brief, but when it says here, the community impact assessment process, to me, it doesn't necessarily mean the assessment itself. It means it could be as simple or complicated, but it could be as simple as saying every 2 years, this is who does what and what assessment, et cetera, and stop right there. Or it could be something that is much more exhaustive. The second one is public reporting. There isn't any information to say what that public reporting looks like or how it is, et cetera. And the Board of Committee Commissioners review and response. We're not asking the voters or anything to say that they know what it is. They're saying that they think that they should be in the actual charter. So with regards to that, all of what we've changed is great for the language, for the people to vote on whether or not they want to do it. But we may want to, I want to know, are we going to be able to get to, or should we? Because maybe to Mr. Lewis's point, we should not be in the position of laying out procedure, right? So I
Pretty
think,
sure that's the job of the county commission.
right, that's what I
That's what we're
understood.
doing. We're
So
not
as
done.
we're going through this, I just want to make sure and remind that I think what you had attempted to do, Brother Struble, and I voted for this before, and I think this is why I'll vote for it again, is to just give the voters an opportunity to say, should it be addressed or not?
Yeah.
And yes or no is the answer. That's how I understand it. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yes. Should the charter be amended to provide for these things?
Yes, that's all it is. Should it be in there or not?
And depending on the detail, the specificity in your question,
Yes.
that will guide what that new section would entail in the charter.
Okay, that's what I really want to understand. So if they were to say yes or no, who then goes in and lays out each parameter of these things listed, for example? Is it
We
this
do.
committee that supports? It's
We
the,
do.
it's
We
the
do.
county that does.
We
right?
do. Yeah,
Okay.
and we're assuming that if you do this, you're also adopting.
What's in there?
language
Yep.
that's associated.
I got that. I just wanted to, I needed for that to be a little more clear for me to make sure that I understand that after just asking the voters, do you want this considered in the charter? That then the commissioners, everybody else, you're going to figure out how to address these things.
Based
and put
on
it in,
what
based
you
on
approve.
that and put in the charter. Got it. Thank you so much.
Linda Bond Edwards.
Just one final thing, thank you. Would it be helpful in any way in terms of putting parameters around these adverse community conditions to specify that the condition should impact health, welfare, safety, or economic impacts? Would it be helpful at all? If it doesn't, that's fine. But it kind of gives some guidance and, maybe kind of closes it in a little bit so that it's not so broad. But if the intent is to leave it broad, leave it broad. But if you want to have something for people to shoot at when they talk about adverse conditions.
Well, and you could see, I mean, in some of Dr. Struble's language, he does have how it affects housing and neighborhood planning, environmental and resilience and so forth. I don't know if that's deep enough, but it is.
That's fine.
it goes
Again, just trying to just
see
not leave it
healthcare.
hanging out there. And I'm
Yeah.
again perfectly happy with leaving it broad. But if we needed to narrow it, that would be a way that we could narrow it.
We're good where we are. Try not to get in the weeds any more than we already are. Are you ready to call? What'd you say?
Roberson.
Dr. Roberson?
Yeah, this question is for legal. Is there a definition in Leon County for historic public policies? Like when we're talking about this adverse community conditions related to historic public policies?
Are you asking if it's in our charter already or in
No,
any
I'm
policy?
asking, does the county in any kind of way, like, are there historic public policies that have been determined to be unlawful in Leon County?
Without doing an assessment, I don't know the answer to that.
All right. If there are no, well, okay, well, yeah. Dr. Well, there's,
So, hold on.
okay, hang on a minute. We have one more comment. We have two more
Yeah.
comments down there. You still had questions and you still have questions. Yes.
Yeah, I want to make sure, because we've done a lot back and forth with words, and then it's referenced in our package about the current laws and policies. So we're going to do an assessment on historic policies related to current policies now. I'm trying to understand, are there any implications related to the current laws that have been passed now and the authority of the county to conduct the assessment on historic policies when current policies are in place? I want to understand, like, are we putting something forward that can be done legally? I want to make sure, that we're putting something forward. If we vote yes, I want to make sure we get it right if we vote yes as a committee, so it could be done. Because if there is something legally wrong,
Carrie, yeah, you have
I guess you're asking,
a response.
I just want to get clarity on the question.
I'm asking the attorney.
I'm sorry, allow it. Yeah.
Let me make sure I understand. Are you asking, are we putting ourselves in jeopardy?
I am.
Okay.
I'm asking, like, I want to make sure that the words that we're considering in the vote, like, based on what has been written in the package, is this sound in conjunction? Is it even allowable to be done the way that it reads, if it were to pass?
So I will caveat this with, I'm doing an on-the-fly
Yeah.
review of what this language is. That's just not how legal analysis happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to dig in. Chastity's going to have to dig in. Like, that's a process.
Okay.
So with that being said, this language talks about historic public policies or governmental practices. That doesn't mean nothing, right? That means something. So we're then going to have to review, well, what are those adverse community conditions related to those historic public policies? We'd have to figure out what those historic public policies or governmental practices are. So if there's not a list, if there isn't a definition of those things, part of the analysis is trying to determine what those things are and if they exist, and then
Because if
reviewing
they
the-
didn't exist, this would be a moot point, right?
And there's always the risk of unintended consequences, no matter what we do here
Right,
today.
I'm not saying they don't.
I
I'm saying
just
you have to
wanted-
do a review.
I just wanted to make sure that we understood that when we voted on this, that there's another determination on what would constitute a historic public policy. And you're saying that there is an analysis, a legal analysis that needs to be done.
Okay. You asked to call the question, was that correct?
Our question.
We could skip that, and I could just go ahead and ask for a roll call vote on what we've got before us.
Madam
Which-
Chair, just
Yes,
a point of order. That was a good question. Are you saying, are you asking for or suggesting a legal analysis before you take a vote? That's a very good question.
Yeah, I am, because.
The motion's on the floor right now.
Oh,
Well, the motion's on the floor, but I have a question. Now, Madam Chair, I have the floor at this point. Now, Madam
We've-
Chair, I asked the question, are you recommending, and
I'm not sure on that point.
I have the.
It's the chair's discretion.
Madam Chair, my question is,
All right, and that,
thank you. Are you,
a matter of
the question was, I'm trying to clarify, are you recommending, through you, Madam Chair, the question was, are you recommending, or was the recommendation made of a legal analysis before we took a vote? And that was my question.
Well, the question that changes the whole thing, because when I asked the question about what defines a historic public policy, and she said that there is a legal analysis that would need to be done to identify if, not saying that there was or wasn't, but if there were historic policies. Like, I don't know how I can vote on a question where I don't understand what is going to be defined as a historic policy. That's why I asked if that was already defined with Leon County, whether there were historic policies that adversely affected communities.
well, that is a consideration in your vote. I think we're ready to take the vote. I'd like to have a roll call vote on, we've got the suggested ballot language, we have the suggested title of the amendment, and you'll also be voting on this material that is attached to the suggested ballot language.
Excuse me.
Pardon me.
Is that what we're voting on right there? Is that what we're voting on?
It's, yeah, it's the,
With the line
title.
through it? That's it?
That would be the ballot
This is-
language for the
Okay.
question. Then the
well, I was going to do all three at once. Both the title, can I,
Yep.
I mean, I can do that, the title, as well as the ballot language. Pardon?
As long as we know what each piece reads or is on the screen, otherwise,
Yeah.
One motion. It is all one motion. I mean, what you're reading is the essence of what we've been talking about. You already have a change on the title. You know what the new title is that we read.
Work is in.
Historic is in. Okay, I take a roll call vote on this, please. We're ready to.
I still don't see what all we're voting on. That's all I want. That's all I want to see. I want to vote, but
Okay.
we've made some changes, and so
Nikki's going to walk us through specifically every single.
So it's going to be, this is a 3-component motion. The first component being the proposed ballot language. That is what is reflected on the screen as revised by the committee. In addition to your,
Right there.
or I'm sorry, yes, this is the ballot title.
Ballot title, yeah.
Ballot title.
And then the proposed section would be developed based on the handout provided by member Strobel, which is printed and provided for you.
got it.
You have a title, you have the proposed language, and you have the additional material. All three are part of the same motion.
So will there be, because this document, the sample amendment text still contains the language that we struck in the sample ballot language. Will that also be automatically struck from this document? If you look
If
at
it's showing
the
up in-
purpose on the front of this document?
Yeah, it would be. It would be, yes.
Thank you.
Answer that, yes. All right, we're going to take a vote now. Who's calling the roll, please?
Joey
Nikki.
Davis,
Yes.
Linda Bond Edwards,
Yes.
Liz Ellis,
Yes.
Max Hurley,
Aye.
Daryl Jones,
Yes.
Howard Kessler,
Yes.
Henry Lewis,
Yes.
Slayton Murray,
No.
Ryan Ray,
Yes.
Shamariel Roberson,
No.
Temple Robinson,
Yes.
Bruce Strobel,
Yes.
Jarrett Terry,
Yes.
Katrina Tuggerson,
Yes.
Barry Wilcox,
Yes.
Vice Chair Haynes,
No.
and Chair Lindley.
Yes.
The motion passes with 14 in the affirmative.
Okay. There are some next steps for us. Our work is not done. We have public hearings. It might be done for today, but it is not done. Nikki, would you like to bring us up to date on what you all need to get on your calendars next?
Yes, and this will be very quick, but to give you guys an idea of what is to come now that you have advanced this to your public hearing process. The public hearings have been scheduled to take place on Tuesday, June 30th, Thursday, July 16th, and Thursday, July 30th, all of which will begin at 6 p.m. and be held here, right here in the program room at the library. Just a reminder, the committee may consider and approve further revisions to the proposed title language that you approve today at any of your public hearings. And then once those 3 public hearings are concluded, if, with affirmative vote to continue to advance, it would continue on to the board's final public hearing on August 17th for their final approval. I will be sure to follow up with an email with all these details so that way you have them.
But I want to ask a question. Is our presence required at all of these public hearings? And will we participate, or will we just be sitting there listening to commentary from the public?
A quorum would be required, and yes, there will be an opportunity to receive public comment, but yes, there will be a vote that is
Yeah.
conducted at each and every public hearing to continue to advance it through the
Wait,
process.
a quorum of whom?
The committee.
Us. We have 3 more meetings, in other words. 3 public hearings. At 6 o'clock here in this same room, public hearings to hear, and then we will vote at each time on whether to go forward before it goes to the BOCC. Did you not plan on that?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna come if I can, but, you know,
We have to have a quorum.
yeah, well, they ain't but one of me. So we've had the vote. And I was just sitting here thinking about the Creek and the Muskogee and the Miccosukee tribe and yeah, that's probably some of all of us. And how does what Leon County may or may not do bleed over into what the federal government did? I mean, this could get real murky before it's all over. I mean, I've already voted, but I just wanted to just share.
Well, what side are you on?
Correct.
Yeah.
As does the federal government, so.
Yeah. Well,
Well, now, didn't you just say that it had gotten feckless or watered down, and then you
I'm
come and
just sharing. I'm just sharing.
you can't be halted between two. You halted between two opinions.
No buyer's remorse.
You
We
saw
voted.
it slowly. I voted. I had to pick a side. So, but I'm just
and-
saying.
And Commissioner Proctor wanted to have a last word?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I congratulate you on behalf of Board of County Commissioners for your services. If others were here, they would also say to you how delighted we are for the sacrifices, intellectual capital that you've expended. I also say that as one of 2 of Florida's longest serving county commissioners of 29 and 1/2 years, that this has been one of the highest level, most intellectually engaging topics with civility that I have ever witnessed. And I'm in awe of you today and the level of energies which this community has. Also, I hasten to say that on that 9-9 vote that the county commission received previously, it was the respect of the minds that occupied the seats at this table that a 9-9 vote was such and our community was in awe because we knew of the weighted members here. And the county commission was frozen because 1134, Commissioner Lewis, Senate Bill 1134 is a discussion occurring across the state. And we did not want for the train to leave the station without the luggage, the baggage, the packages of your insights being shared and with this commission on this particular issue, so that you would take a second look and history would not record that we languished in a dead heat. You came back and we're grateful. So I extend to you, just on pure longevity of 29 and a half years, my high respect for what you've offered. To God be glory. Thank you so much. And I will be asking our commission at some time in the fall to recognize this great body. This is a tremendous panel. Don't miss what you represent, a tremendous panel. And to Dr. Strobel, whose continuing effort for us to reach understanding. And understanding is something that you, to reach it doesn't come easy. But we have been advised, and above all by get understanding. And sir, for your continuing efforts that we wrestle this important point that we achieve it as best we could. Great salutes to you. Thank y'all. God
Thanks,
bless you.
Commissioner. And before we leave,
Madam,
well, one quick question, one comment. The Sunshine Law applies. You guys are not to be speaking to each other at all about this. You can speak to your friends and family, but not to each other. Yep.
I just want to offer an apology to Member Haynes. I got a little testy over here. I cut him off during his speech, and I apologize for that. That wasn't professional.
Point of personal privilege.
Yeah.
Today is Barry Wilcox's birthday, so everybody wish him a happy birthday.
What a way to do it first day.
As Max said, I hope you all remember where you were on my birthday.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reciprocate the tremendous compliment to Commissioner Proctor. It was the Commission's wisdom that sent this back to us. This is a really difficult and thoughtful conversation. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And I also want to thank you, Madam Chair, for doing a tremendous job stewarding this very worthwhile conversation.
Very
So
good.
thank
you.
Thank
Thank you all
you.
the staff.
And may I say, Madam Chair, that I think our county administrator said that no other county has done something like this.
That's right.
And it's appropriate. Hopefully,
67 counties
Leon
are-
County is the first county of the 67 to start this,
In the
and this spreads throughout the state of Florida as well.
Yeah.
I would also like to say thanks to the county staff
Absolutely.
for providing us with information that we needed, to the county administrator, to Ms. Hatch and County Attorney Osteen in her absence, and to you, Ms. Norton. Thank you all so much for just, keeping the guardrails wide enough to allow us to do what we needed to do, but narrow enough so that we don't get into too much trouble.
And
So
maybe
thank you.
especially to Nikki, who's been just on this nonstop, day after day, week after week, and
Yeah, when
been
you
a great
see
asset
Nikki's
to me.
email, you'd be like, uh-oh,
Uh-huh.
what's going on?
She does it. Yeah.
Not
No,
only-
no stone unturned to this girl's life. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on June 30th, 6 o'clock.
We can't talk yet, but I definitely understand.
You meet Leighton throwing chairs. Oh, man.
Hey,